Is this glass half empty or half full? Are you a half full person or are you a half empty person? You know, I've met people in my life and they're totally empty. There is no optimism. Today, I want to examine optimism. It's important because what we know is that people who are more optimistic, people whose glass is half full or full, have better health outcomes. They are happier in life. They tend to find happiness not only at home but in the workplace. And so therefore, we all want some of that. And the great thing about that is that optimism can be built. Today, let's explore building your optimism. Thank God, optimism is not fixed. Optimism can be changed. Optimism can be built upon. And today, in this video, I want to cover 6 areas that will help you build your optimism. And if you're enjoying this content, I invite you to subscribe below. Every week I come out with new content just like this on optimism or emotional intelligence or leadership. And I position it in such a way that I want to give you practical things to practice and to do that will help you expand your emotional intelligence. And just like today, give you tips on how to build your optimism. Number 1 is visualize your best outcome. Now, this is different from mindfulness that I talk about sometimes. This is really allowing yourself to visualize the future. And so it's really enjoying that task, looking to maybe a year ahead, 2 years ahead, 3 years ahead. Put yourself in that position and then imagine what it's like. What if everything worked out? What if all the success you've dreamed about came true? What about if opportunities came to you that you'd never imagined? What would your life look like? And then to actively visualize that happening. You know, I use a variation of this in some of the training that we do. We invite people to think about the year ahead and they physically speak out. They talk about all the different things that have happened in that year. And so maybe you might want to do that. Find a friend, someone you both want to build up your optimism. Have conversations with them. Actively speak about what it's going to look like in 2 or 3 years. Feel what it feels like to actively express that and to think about it. Because here's what's important. The research points out that when we actively engage in this type of visualization and expression, it boosts our optimism. My mother had an expression that she loved to say all the time, and I'm sure you've heard it before, and it's this: misery loves company. And I'm afraid that's true. You know, emotions are contagious. We catch them. It's kind of like a flu bug that goes around and people catch it. So we have to ask ourselves, what are we catching? Who are we hanging out with? Because our levels of optimism are impacted by the people we hang out with. If we're constantly in the lives of people who are negative, who really don't see potential in the future, that is going to rub off. So another way of boosting your optimism is to look for like-minded friends. Find people who also share a shared optimism for the future, who are positive, who are expectant on things that are about to happen, who are thinking of wonderful things for the future, because that also will impact your own optimism. If I say to you, you are what you eat, most people believe that. Most people believe that the food they eat has the potential to change the mood that they're feeling. Well, in a way, I like to say you are what you consume as well on television. Now, unfortunately, most of the news we're living on today is not exactly the best news. News thrives on disaster. News thrives on scandal. News thrives on bad news. In fact, they have to have a little segment in the news for 22 seconds at the end just to throw in a little bit of happiness or optimism of something good that happened. So therefore, be careful on the news that you consume. Just consume enough that keeps you in touch with the world and you know what's happening. But don't consume too much, because it has the potential of really impacting your optimism, of what you feel about your potential and the potential for the world. Rather than listening and taking it in passively, go out and do something that if you're moved, that's much more likely to impact your level of optimism. Number 4 is the power of gratitude. People who have high levels of optimism are also people who are able to look at the world and be grateful for what they have. You may want to try and keep a little gratitude journal, or just take a pause through the day of asking ourselves, instead of what's wrong with the world, what's wrong with today, asking the other question, what's right with the world? What's right with today? What's going well for me today? And to express gratitude in that moment. Studies have shown that people who actively write down thoughts of gratitude have higher levels of optimism. Number 5 is be very clear what you can and you cannot do. You know, within us, we all have the potential of looking at things and tasks that we have to do. And if you examine those, you can either say, I have control or power to do something about these. Or if I don't have direct control, I have the power to influence others who have control. And then there are some things over which we have no control. And the problem is, so many people worry and fret about things they have no control over, and they forget to focus on things that they do have control or influence over. So if you want to boost your optimism, why not focus on things that over which you have control, over things which you can influence, and just try and put away thoughts of things that you just have no control over. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing you can do about it anyway. And finally, the last point is, I want you to acknowledge and be real. What I'm not trying to suggest in this video is that I want you to have tinted glasses and that you're unrealistic in your perception of the world. I want us to be real. If there are problems, I want us to be real about those problems and to acknowledge them. If we have emotions that are destructive, I want us to, as well, instead of suppress them, to acknowledge them. But the wonderful thing about optimistic people is, even when bad things are happening, they're able to reframe it, and to get from that reframing, they're able to get the energy to carry out what they need to do and to keep their level of optimism. And I hope what we've learned today is that you don't have to be half empty at all. You don't even have to be half full. You can be overflowing, because we have the potential as human beings to increase, to develop, and to expand our optimism. If you found this video helpful, I think you'll find the next video really interesting. How to regulate your emotions at work, because the workplace can be such a place that impacts our optimism. The better we're able to regulate our emotions, the better we're able to sustain higher levels of optimism.